Hi, everybody. I'm Sweeney Murti, Yankees reporter at WFAN Radio in New York, also seen on SNY and MLB Network. Today, I'm proud to be here at Susquehanna University talking with a group of sports media members here in the major here at Susquehanna University and your guest host for Coach's Corner. And our guest is Susquehanna University baseball coach Denny Bowers, who of course needs no introduction to this audience, a legend here at Susquehanna University, Athletic Hall of Famer in his 13th year as the head baseball coach here. Denny, first of all, thanks for joining us here. What's it like for you entering this season here after a couple of successful years you've had here on the upswing with your program?
Well, we have a lot to move on from last year losing the conference championship, but we have had some success over the last 4 or 5 years. We've played in 3 conference championships, had the opportunity to win 2 of them, so that brings on a different want from year to year. You're not to the point where you're trying to get there. We are there, and we need to maintain that and get to the next level. So it's very exciting.
You know what it's like to win a conference championship. Last spring you lost one. I'm sure it stays with you for a long time. But one of the things I always find fascinating in team sports is how hard it is to get to that level where you're going to win a championship or could possibly win a championship. You lose, and you have to start all over again. It must be a hard feeling to carry with you through an off season into the next season.
It is, and considering when you lose 14 players to graduation, and when you say start over, you have 23 freshmen and sophomores.
You're literally starting
over. And but the mentality, the work ethic, the stuff that we do as our program hasn't changed. And there's a buy-in from our young players, and they're right in there working every day, so that's exciting.
What about that loss last year at Elizabethtown sticks out to you? What are the things that you kind of replay in your mind or talk to your team about?
Well, the big thing is, it took the last game, so, it was a 3rd time playing Elizabethtown in the tournament after playing them 3 times during the regular season. So it just comes down at that point of the year pitching, who can manage the game and eat up innings and get outs. And their guy that threw was a bullpen guy all year long, and that was his first start. So he pitched well and beat us.
You've had 58 wins the last 2 years in your program. Really big number. How good do you feel about this group of players that's helped you accomplish that?
I feel great about those guys. That group that just graduated won 106 games in their 4-year career. So says a lot about the type of player that we've had here. And also the younger players have learned from those guys. And that's where I think we are now. We're a little bit inexperienced on the playing field, experienced on the mound. And so hopefully those two can work together and get enough runs across the plate to win a ball game.
How have you seen that benefit the program overall? The success they had the last 4 years, the success you personally had here. You have a name here at Susquehanna University. You can point to being in the Athletic Hall of Fame, the accomplishments you had on the field, and what you've been able to accomplish as a head coach here. How has that benefited who you're bringing into the program, the types of people, players you're allowed to bring in?
Well, I think the championships have done more than my career several years ago. When you win championships, people want to go to those places. And again, we were fortunate to do that. We've had great recruiting classes. The more opportunities you have to win ball games, maybe that gives you 1 or 2 extra kids to get on campus. And like I said, we've been fortunate in that regard. So I feel as though this current freshman class is one of our better recruiting classes we've had in quite some time.
Tell me a little bit more about the key losses from last year's team. You mentioned all the graduating seniors and how you look to replace them.
Well, some of them are not replaceable in terms of what kind of production they brought to our offense. There's 17 home runs that are gone between 2 guys. And, that's more or less going to be made up with a team as opposed to 1 or 2 guys. But I feel the replacement from some of those guys are now a little bit more athletic. We're a little bit of different style of offense. We're not going to hit 40 home runs, and I don't see that yet. But we're going to, run around a little bit more, so it's going to be exciting.
Of your returning players, you're returning a shortstop and a center fielder. How important is that up the middle, defensively especially?
I mean, that's key. I mean, your components are catcher, shortstop, center field, and we'll have a new catcher. The shortstop from last year is by trade a corner infielder, and the center fielder is back. So having key guys on the field that have been there before certainly is going to help the program, regardless of where they're playing.
Based off the fall program you just had heading into the spring, what are the areas that you feel good about? What are the areas that still concern you?
I feel out of the three parts of the game, our offense is probably the one that's a little bit behind the other two, and that's just, a little bit less experience in that aspect. Defensively, I think we're much improved over the last several years, and I think our pitching staff is someone that we're going to have to lean on a little bit. Now, we say that going into the season, but we saw through our fall program that our young hitters did pretty well. So, the name of the game is to score more than the other team, so hopefully we can do that.
What are the areas defensively that you feel you improved? How have you improved?
Just overall athleticism in the infield as a whole, and speed in the outfield. I truly feel that as a whole defensive unit, we are much improved.
When you talk about some of the guys who've been able to move from one position to another, you were a guy who played multiple positions. As you look at Major League Baseball now, you see the value that managers place in guys who can play multiple positions and give them versatility and a little flexibility in their rosters. How important is that to you on this roster for you?
I think it's very important. Being able to do multiple things adds value to yourself and obviously to the program. So being able to potentially move to the outfield if you're an infielder or vice versa. A lot of it depends on how you're hitting. If you're hitting the baseball, and you generally try to find a spot for you, but being versatile only adds an element to the program in a positive way. So
when you lose a group of seniors, you've obviously lost leadership with it. How big of a loss is that right now? Where do you think your leadership is coming from?
Our leadership this year is coming from our 4 seniors at the top, and we have a couple guys that are underclassmen that have stepped up and taken the reins a little bit. I always preach to the guys that 4 guys don't lead the team; the entire team leads the team. So we want everybody to step up. It's just not one person. But there's guys who are more vocal than other guys and handle things differently. But as a whole, we've got a pretty good squad when it comes to that.
You have some experience coming back on the pitching staff too, don't you?
Yes, we do. 3 conference starters are all back, and so that's exciting. It's really exciting to see what the potential that we have. We have a guy from injury last year that didn't pitch that's coming back. Excuse me, and a couple young, fresh arms too in the mix. So it's pretty exciting.
What are you looking to get through to your team before you get to that opener February 23rd?
Consistency, day to day. Get better every day. We're only as good as, we preach pitching staff and defense. Yeah, we can scratch some runs across, but we've got to be consistent. Throw strikes, get people out. Walking people is not helping anybody. Minimize the free base runners. We minimize free base runners, then we'll be pretty successful. Yeah,
I'm curious about your overall philosophy as you build a program and build a team. You've been doing this for a long time. This is your 13th year. I'll cover the New York Yankees, and there's an organizational philosophy there where they break it down to the smallest detail. And they say, win this pitch, and then win the next pitch. Mm-hmm. And if at the end of the day you've won more pitches than the other team, you've won the game, and you come back and do it again tomorrow. It's broken down to such a small detail, and I wonder how much of that you go through in your role.
I think we do that on a day-to-day basis. It may be not to the Yankees standard or how they preach it, but doing the small things, the little things are very important. It may not be on the field. It may be who's cleaning up the gear, who's raking the field, who's doing those types of things. And those are pretty important things. Do the small things, all the little things that get overlooked. And if you do enough small things, the big things should work out for you.
That's actually something, Joe Torre, you used to teach me a long time ago. He said, think small and big things will happen. Mm-hmm. Sounds like that's the same type of thing you're trying to get through. How much does your name I know, you seem like a humble guy to me, but you are a guy who's in the Athletic Hall of Fame here. You made your name here as a player and now as a coach. How much does that translate to your players? How much do they look to your leadership through that? How much do they know about it? How much do they value it?
Honestly, I don't know if they know about it. I would think some of the upperclassmen do, but I don't talk about that. There may be a time or two I talk about an experience, or I don't want to compare what I did to what they do. Mm-hmm. It's nothing like that. But what I want to get through to them is how I was able to do certain things, and I think I do that by my day-to-day actions and what we do on the field, what our preparation is, what I expect of them to do every day. So I think from a leadership standpoint, we work hard, as a staff and our assistants, and that's the thing that we really try to get across the most. If we're not working hard, we can't expect them to do the same. So you get what you get from me, and that's the way I've always been.
You place a lot of trust in your coaching staff too?
Absolutely, have to. Mm-hmm. They're young, and so we teach them just as much as we teach the players, but they've got to go out there and do their specific tasks, and I trust them to do that. And we do like every other program does.
Worst thing everybody seems to think about playing baseball in the Northeast is how cold it can get. I know you guys have a week-long Florida trip in March. How much do you think players look forward to that, and what do you look to get out of it?
I think they absolutely look forward to that. We're pretty fortunate we're able to take a couple trips prior to spring break also. So that's not the first time we're playing. But ultimately, we're trying to evaluate early on in the year and see who's playing right. So when we come back from spring break, it's conference baseball time. And, you find out who can play 3 games in a row, who can handle some stress, who's not throwing strikes, who's not hitting the ball. Still trying to evaluate as much as we can. So to get out of spring break is really what we're trying to get moving forward to conference baseball time.
You still have a little time before you have to make up your first lineup card, but how much time do you spend in the weeks leading up to it scribbling down on a napkin, maybe when you're out eating dinner or just anywhere home watching TV? How much do you play around with that and kind of look forward to what you have to deal with later on?
We do it every day.
Mm-hmm.
You try and figure out who can protect who's better hitting around a certain person. To try and give them the best opportunity. You want to surround your better players with quality hitters to allow them to hit. If you're not, then they're not going to get anything to hit. So lineups are something that we, I don't think, even from last year, I don't know how many times they were the same for much of the year, but yeah, we're always trying to evaluate every possible way.
The buzz around major leagues the last several years is about analytics and extra data. How much of that do you guys go through on a daily basis?
Not that much. We're a little bit smaller scale, and sometimes you don't have the resources to get some of those types of things, but a lot of it's the eye test. From a pitcher's perspective, if they're throwing well and it's based on a gut feeling with what we have as a staff, and make our decisions based on that, not numbers. I think some of that, and we saw some of it happen in the playoffs this year in Major League Baseball. So just really go with what we're seeing as opposed to numbers. Yeah,
the eye test would have told you to get Yu Darvish out at 2-0 and not let it get to 5-0, right?
That's correct.
Denny, listen, good luck. Thanks for giving us a couple minutes here, and good luck next season. Hope it's another successful one for you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
That's Denny Bowers, head baseball coach here at Susquehanna University. And I'm Sweeney Murti, guest host for the Coach's Corner here. I'll be back covering the Yankees when Denny's doing his thing, and hopefully I'll be watching from afar and wishing good luck to everybody here. Good luck to the Riverhawks, and thanks for giving us a couple minutes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having me as a guest host.